Welcome to the Investor Agent Synergy Podcast, where real estate investors and agents come together to build partnerships, create value, and achieve more together. Whether you're an agent looking to unlock new opportunities or an investor seeking the right partnerships, this is the place to learn, grow, and connect. This podcast is proudly sponsored by New Hampshire Homebuyers, a trusted leader in local house buying since 2017. With over 100 glowing reviews and a commitment to being local, fair, and trusted, New Hampshire Homebuyers helps homeowners throughout New Hampshire and Massachusetts sell their homes in any condition. Now, let's dive into the podcast.
Well, this is the very first episode of the Investor Agent Synergy Podcast. My name's Jeremy Beland. This is my beautiful wife, Michelle Beland, and this is it. We're getting started. How you doing, Shelly?
I'm doing great. This is very exciting.
So for you guys who don't know who we are home buyers, investors. We've been buying homes since 2017. That's when we started our journey, back in January 2017, here in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, which is our local market to where we live, and one of the markets that we've been buying houses in. We've bought houses in many other markets, but this has been our main market during that whole time as we record this in 2025. Where does the time go?
It's like 8 years, almost 8 years.
Yeah. We've bought in hundreds of houses throughout New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and we've made our name to ourselves as one of the biggest home buying companies in the area by far. And one of the things we're most proud of is that we have more glowing reviews than any other home buying company in the area, which is amazing.
We just passed 100, so.
Just passed 100.
Woohoo! It's exciting.
And then we had this idea to come up with the podcast because what we realized that during our experience and travel and journey in real estate investing that, there seems to be a disconnect sometimes between the typical real estate agent and the typical real estate investor. And a lot of times they can be collaborating together and achieving more together, and rather than maybe either or having a preconceived notion of each other. So we thought, let's do a podcast. Let's bring in some rock star real estate agents, us as the local home buying investors, talk about the synergy the two of them can have and the value they can provide. And I know I'm taking credit for this, but this is really Shelly's idea. So good idea, Shelly.
Well, I just thought of it because we started along the way to work with agents on a few different deals that agents were able, once they realized what we do, to bring us a deal that they wouldn't have been able to list on the traditional market. And instead of it just being like a closed door dead end, they realized they could work with us. We could all work together and we all could prosper. And it's a win-win-win because that also includes a win for the seller of the house too, who would have maybe not been able to find us without that agent bringing us into the mix.
I agree.
So, yeah, and the more that we do it, the more I realize that, we just kind of need to educate everyone in our community, including the agents, on what we do and get to know them and what they do and what they're coming across on the market and off market and work together.
Yeah, and I love that. And you bring up a really good point because with our New Hampshire home buyers business or all our home buying businesses, we're really passionate about providing value to the sellers in the community, right? A lot of times we're working with people who don't have a lot of options. They may be struggling financially. There's all kinds of distress, whether it's the house is distressed or their situation's distressed. Maybe they even inherited properties from afar and they want nothing to do with it, right? And what happens is these people don't always fit into the box that would work for traditional real estate, right? So a lot of times real estate agents come across these sellers, these situations, and it could be like a hoarder house, or the house needs a lot of work, and some investors will take that and list it on the MLS, but a lot of them are like, well, there's not really much money here. I don't really know where I could provide value. There's a lot of stuff we need to do to get this thing to qualify for conventional financing.
That's a big one.
How do I relocate this person? They're going to leave 14 tons of debris in the house. What do I do with that, right? There's a lot of things that a lot of agents really don't know how to navigate, but we do because we're professionals and that's what we do in our industry. So as you mentioned, they can now, when they're out coming across their leads and going on appointments, or a situation like this, which they would say, hey, I'm not the right fit for you, sorry. Now they can be like, hey, I know somebody who is, I can work with them. We can provide value to your problem, give you a solution, get you out of this situation into a better situation. And as you said, it's a win-win-win, right? It's a win for the agent because now they're getting commission on a deal they would, most likely just pass up.
Yeah.
It's a win for us because we get another project that we can buy and do some business with and, make some money. And more importantly, it's a win for the seller because now they have a solution to their problem where if that agent doesn't help them and they don't know about a real estate investor, like a lot of people don't,
Right.
And
And that's the biggest thing. I feel like we're, always on a mission to educate sellers that there are options out there that they don't realize. Options like us, where, the guy who had like a backhoes on his property that he didn't know how to get rid of.
Equipment, yeah.
Our Eddie will find a way to sell those and get them off the property and give them money in their pocket for that. Or, the people who just don't have anybody to even help them move. So it's like, well, not only we'll have pods delivered, we'll send people over to help you, probably us sometimes if there's a language barrier, we'll help sort through everything, pack everything, get your pods moved, coordinate all these different things. And we do a lot of other stuff as well.
Right.
But I feel like the sellers don't know that, but a lot of times agents don't even realize that, especially maybe if they're newer or they just haven't come across deals like this before of these types of houses. So we just want to keep educating sellers and agents that, if you come across a house like this, it's definitely not a dead end.
For sure.
We've got a guy for that. I always tell Jeremy, you tell them.
We're the guy.
We want to be the guy. Like, I got a guy who can help with this. You have 3 campers in your backyard, uninsured or unregistered. We'll be able to buy that house.
We have a guy
It's not
for
a
that.
dead end.
Yeah. And those are all great points. And obviously, we've done a lot of things over the years, right? Moving people across country, selling excavating equipment. A lot of times we have to give a lot of money up front to help them, right? Putting down deposits on the next places or whatever the case may be, help them find new locations. And it's a lot of work. It's a ton of times, a lot of effort. You're also dealing with people a lot of times who are very emotional. They may be even irrational, not making great decisions at that time in their life because, life is really hard. So we're seeing like the worst versions of them, not necessarily the best versions of them. And that can be a lot to navigate. And for, many real estate agents, I know they care, they want to provide value, but doing all that may not be worth it. But they don't realize they don't have to. All they have to bring in is us.
Right.
We'll do all the legwork.
Yep.
They can, I don't want to say get all the glory, but they kind of get all the glory. Hey, I have a guy that does all this.
Help.
These people will come in, do all this stuff behind the scenes to help.
Yeah.
The agent still gets credit for all that, and they don't really have to do much of anything.
Right. Right. And we, we'll be there even to work with them. Like, they don't have to just hand off the deal to us completely because they maybe have rapport with the seller and they want to help them, but they don't know how. We'll come in and we're going to be talking to some of our first guests about a situation like this where we all work together to get to know the seller and work through their issues together. It's not as daunting when you have someone else who kind of specializes in it to go in with you and talk through all these issues with the seller, come up with like a plan of action together.
Customized, tailored solution.
You're not just like handing it off. You're all working together towards a common goal, and it becomes a lot easier.
Yep. Teamwork makes the dream work.
That's
I love
right.
it. So let's flip the script a little bit, right? Now let's talk about investors, and with agents, right? So with us, we do like many, home buying investors, we do spend a lot of money on marketing to identify these type of people that we were just talking about to generate leads, right? And we go on a lot of appointments for these people. But, as much as we say not all these things fit in a box for agents, there's a lot of them that don't fit in the box for us, right?
Good point.
We come across deals all the time or leads across sellers all the time. They're not the right fit for us. And we tell them, we're not the right fit for you. You should be working with a real estate agent for X, Y, and Z, right? Maybe you need more money, whatever the situation is, we're just not your best solution. So, agents or investors don't realize that they're leaving a lot of opportunities on the table too. They could be passing these opportunities over to agents, rockstar agents like we're going to have on this podcast, that now can get these referrals from us, right? Go in, help these people out, which we can't do anything with, and then a lot of times we get a referral fee for doing that. So just like the agent benefits from us buying a house that they wanted, and they get now commission on that property, a lot of times double ending that commission, and after we flip it, they get to list it again, right?
Yeah, which is awesome.
For us,
doing that.
who spends a lot of money on marketing, if we're coming across a lot of leads that don't fit our buy box, we can pass them along to agents who now can become the listing agent, and they give us a referral back. That also helps our marketing dollars. there's the investor agent synergy that we're talking about in this podcast.
That synergy is like all of these deals. You would have a handful on the agent side that didn't work for them, a handful on our side that didn't work for us. But if we're putting them all back to each other, it's almost 100% of all of those deals that come in that are going to be able to work through
come to fruition and work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's super exciting.
And
I love that.
I think there's a preconceived notion out there, right? And I think of like collaboration over competition.
Yeah.
We're strong believers in collaboration. And, and in a lot of sales environments, and let's face it, real estate sales can be very competitive. We're competitive against other home buying businesses, and agents are competitive against other agents. But there's plenty of deals to go around for everybody, whether it's listing appointments, houses that need to be fixed and flipped, buying rentals, whatever. There's plenty to go around for everybody.
For sure.
So we believe in collaboration over competition. And, I think sometimes agents feel that an investor is competition, but not realizing that a lot of times we're not looking at the same property. Right? It's very rarely that an agent and an investor are competing over that same property. We're talking probably like less than 5%. The other 95% is, it's pretty obvious this is a cash buying situation for an investor and I must list with a realtor situation, right?
For sure.
So I think there's that preconceived notion, and also I think preconceived notion that investors are just like sleazeballs, lowball offer type people. They're just trying to take advantage of people getting houses really cheap and robbing people's houses from, which we know is further from the truth.
So I think it used to be like that a lot. I think it's getting better, but there are still a lot of new investors out there that don't really know what they're doing.
Correct.
They don't have a lot of experience. They will string along a seller and then bail at the last minute because they couldn't find someone. So that definitely adds to that reputation for us, and that's part of our goal, is just like really educating everyone out there, that including sellers and agents, that we're not like that, and there's a group of investors that are not like that. Not just us. There's some great investors, a lot of great investors out there, but I think it's kind of like, as long as there's bad new investors or new wholesalers out there, that we're always going to be hearing that, and we have to just keep on educating everyone and working with everyone and just showing what it's like to work with us.
Right. And there's good and bad in everything, right? Yep. So even in the agent space and brokerage space, there's bad brokers and there's bad agents, right? Yep. But what we're going to focus on in this podcast are the good agents, the good brokers, and the good real estate investors, and bringing them together in a synergy, collaborate together, help educate more people who maybe are agents that don't work with investors and maybe have wanted to work with investors but don't know where to start, don't know how to go about it, or agents that maybe had a preconceived notion of investors and now we can change their mind. And then investors, hey, you guys are missing out on an opportunity to work with a lot of great rock star agents that are in your area. And bringing these people together, these relationships together, these partnerships together, more can be accomplished at helping the community and making money doing it.
Absolutely. Yep. And one last thing I would say about that is I feel like it's a really exciting time to be doing that, because although the market is always changing and up, down, and all over the place, it's not been a great market for the past year or so, or maybe longer. I'm trying to block it out.
Yeah.
And, it hasn't really been easy for anybody. Yeah. And so I think that, in my eyes, a lot of agents are more open-minded about working with investors, probably are wanting to learn more about it. So here we are. Let's do it. Let's all work together and make it through the tougher markets and into the better ones.
It's inevitable that the tougher market's going to lead to a better market, and I love it. I love your idea of this podcast, honey. It was a great idea. I think it's needed. It's not in the space from anywhere we can tell. We're going to focus here in New Hampshire and Massachusetts, but I think a lot of people in other communities outside of just this area can benefit and relate.
Sure.
So great idea with this podcast. I'm really excited to start recording it with you, and we got a lot of great guests coming up. So hopefully we get a lot of listeners and watchers, and we provide a lot of great value. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Investor Agent Synergy Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share with others who could benefit from stronger partnerships in real estate. And a big thank you to our awesome sponsor, New Hampshire Home Buyers, helping homeowners with fair professional solutions since 2017. For more information about New Hampshire Home Buyers, how they can help you or someone you know, please go visit nhomebuyers.net. Until next time, remember, success in real estate is better together. See you on the next episode of Investor Agent Synergy Podcast.